everyone. This is just another episode of the Conversations with Coaching series. And today I'm very happy to welcome Kseniya Kultysheva, an L&D leader and Agile Coach, ICF, ACC accredited, credentialed coach. And today we are going to have a conversation about Agile coaching. Kseniya, over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Luba, and thank you for this invitation. It's a really big pleasure for me to be here today. So what I want to highlight here is that, since we are going to talk about Agile coaching, so I'm not only the coach accredited by ICF, also I hold a variety of credentials from IC Agile. So it's International Consortium of Agile, which is really beneficial and industry recognized credentials. So that's only one thing I would want to add here. And also, I have how much. So I started being Agile coach from 2015. So more than 10 years I'm practicing. So a lot of funny stories to share today and experience, from my workplaces. Thank you.
That's amazing. I also know that you train Agile coaches and Scrum Masters. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So what do I do now? At some point of my career, like 3 years ago, I decided to switch to L&D. Like I'm a full-time trainer right now, and I'm educating project people managers, Agile coaches, and Scrum Masters included. So I provide different trainings and programs as verified, accredited by IC Agile. And also I developed a bunch of programs like inside the corporation. So I've also worked in the biggest software development vendor company. So we have how much? It's a couple of thousands of project and people managers there, and a lot of people who want to move in that direction, to develop their career in that direction. So I developed a corporate program. So it's usually, so that's quite extensive programs from 6 to 8 months, developing on the level of participants and the direction they want to develop themselves and career path they want to pursue.
Wonderful. Well, let's dive right in. And I guess my first question is going to be, how do you define Agile coaching? How is it different from coaching in a wider sense of word? When we say coaching is a partnership, a developmental partnership. How do you define Agile coaching?
And I'd want to start from one misconception here, which is quite interesting. So a lot of people think that Agile coach or Scrum Master, they're more like a facilitators. So they are facilitating meetings and some conversations between the team, the development team, and stakeholders. But usually there is another layer of meaning there. So facilitation skills and coaching skills are quite important. However, to be a successful Agile coach or Scrum Master, you should be aware of the Agile. So what are the values and principles of Agile? Because, so Agile is not a methodology. You don't have like a guidebook. So we have like Scrum Guide, where the recommendations and suggestions are written down and summarized. And also we have Agile Manifesto, with all the values and principles. So the good Scrum Master and Agile coach, they have to understand the values and principles, meaning that they are not forcing everybody to implement these values and principles, because not all the workplace is compatible with all the values and all the principles. So we have to act as a filter. So at the end of the day, we should have the understanding of Agile values, Agile principles, and have well-developed facilitation and coaching skills, making sure that we can make it happen. So we can switch from the broader context of all these values, principles, and make sure that we can do it on a daily basis, that our team can follow these values and principles in their day-to-day activities, in their tasks they are executing. And the main difference here, well, so what defines the good Agile coach from other coaches is the understanding, of the values, as I already mentioned. And, in Agile, the first value is really, really important one. And the first value is individuals and interactions over processes and tools, meaning that we should focus all our endeavors on people, which is somehow similar to the classical coaches, However, it's different since we have like two parts in this value, like individuals and interactions, meaning that we should make sure that our people can collaborate effectively. But the second half here is processes and tools. So we should be aware of the processes and tools also that our people can establish this effective collaboration, and that they can resolve the bottlenecks easily, and what tools they need to use to be effective, and to make sure that they are like development endeavors or any other endeavors to, I don't know, deliver some product, service, or result effective, which is interesting nuance. And, recently, actually, I had a funny conversation with a friend of mine. They're trying to hire Scrum Master, and they're struggling a lot to find somebody who understands not only, and not equipped only with facilitation skills, not only actually position themselves as facilitator of the meeting, but also aware of the processes, tools, and have the deep expertise in ways of interaction, that they are aware of the team dynamics, how support your team from like a chaotic group of people to high-performing team. So we should also make sure that we help our team develop and become like more productive and more happy at the end of the day. Yeah.
On this point, I do have an interesting experience. I guess I mentioned that to you before. I'm a team coach myself, and I use a systemic lens. I work with group dynamics a lot. And at a certain point in my work, maybe a few years ago, I participated in a Scrum Master training. And in a cohort of 20 plus people, I was the only person with a non-technical background. So basically everyone else was from the IT industry, and I was the only one working with individuals and teams as an external practitioner in the corporate context. And I guess everything we talked about, like building trust, resolving conflicts, holding space for a group, ensuring alignment, right? Like how to make a conversation transparent. We covered all of this in some team coaching programs. So to me, that was all familiar. I didn't know about certain rituals or like retros, because team coaching can be less formalized. But at the same time, the philosophy was exactly the same. And that got me thinking, so why do these specific niches are usually associated with the IT industry, whereas so many skills are shared? And I guess our trainer said that in his experience, some of the best Scrum Masters he encountered came from a non-technical background. Yeah. So what is your take on this?
Yeah, so exactly. I can relate to what your trainer said. And now I actually absorb it myself when people from technical background came to the trainings I'm conducting and trying to actually help them develop the so let's call it people skills. Yeah, so communication, collaboration, all this trust building, conflict resolution, etc. And it's so hard for them sometimes, to develop that skills because they are a little bit introverted, and they sometimes don't have the specific mindset to become a people person. So they just want to learn some tools and techniques and to apply it like directly. So perceiving people as, so maybe that's not a good metaphor, but perceiving people as machines. So as the binary interaction, so I did it, so I expect the specific outcome of that interaction, which is not working. Yeah, it's not usually done this way. So human interaction is more complex. But going back to your question regarding the why, behind the agile, so why it's usually associated with IT, because it was initially developed by IT practitioners. So agile was when it was more than 20 years ago. I can't remember the exact date or year. It was more than 20 years ago. So a bunch of software development practitioners and managers, like delivery managers, they get together and they were discussing the issue they experienced in software development. So they come up with agile, another approach to software development. At that time, there were the most common approach to software development was from manufacturing. Can you imagine that? When we have these clear phases, so when we do something, we hand over the result to somebody else and they did their part and that's it. So it's called waterfall. And they were thinking, so how we can make it better, because it didn't work due to the complexity. And they came up with agile. So another approach, like some sort of innovative approach with a focus on humans and human interaction. So trying to resolve all the bottlenecks immediately, making sure that we have well-established communication flows, etc. So the main point was that the team should sit together in one room and discuss what's going on. If somebody is experiencing bottleneck or blocked with something, so they can share it with team members and to actually work on that issue collaboratively. So that's why now Agile coaches, Scrum Masters, they're associated strongly with Agile. However, the idea behind Agile, it's quite simple, and I do believe that any organization which want to enhance on the processes and human collaboration, make their corporate culture better, they can implement Agile. And actually, in my previous company, it was a funny story. At that time, it was 2019. Everybody was so inspired by so-called Industry 4.0, digital transformation and all that things. And my previous company, they decided also to implement Agile as a way of working. But funny thing is that we ended up in the situation that all the roles were simply renamed overnight. So project managers become like Scrum Masters. Some people became like product.
Well, that's a curious approach to change management.
Yeah. But, nobody knows what they're supposed to do without this education, without understanding. So what's the Agile? So what does it mean to switch from project manager to Scrum Master or to Agile Coach even? Yeah, so that was like, oh, well, so what we are supposed to do? And that's why I want to emphasize that for Agile coaches, for Scrum Master, it's so important to understand the values and principles from Agile, and maybe even to dig a bit deeper into the history of Agile. So why it was initially developed. So why these people came up with the idea. Yeah, so what problem they tried to solve. And from my practice, what I did in my previous company, as I already shared, everybody was so inspired with Agile, and they decided that, okay, let's become an Agile organization overnight. And at that time, I was holding the position of project manager, and I was so interested in Agile transformation way of working. And I tried, actually at that time, I implemented some practices from Agile. I didn't call them Agile ceremonies or events, but we had like daily stand-ups with my team. So simple meetings to exchange what we did previous day, what we want to do today, what are the problems or bottlenecks we're facing, daily stand-ups and retrospectives. So whenever we deliver result, we have this meeting, we'll sit together and discuss what was good, what went wrong, what we want to improve. that was, some practice, and everybody can do it for the team. Yeah, and I do believe that you, as a team coach, can confirm that these practices have really high impact on the team dynamic and the, sense of belonging, maybe even sense of ownership of the team members.
Let me add here, these practices are super helpful when done well.
Exactly.
Like given that there is psychological safety in the team and everyone feels like sharing and everyone has a buy-in in the process, and there's supportive leadership, right? There's, the resistance is addressed and things like this.
Yeah, and a really interesting story. Some participants of the trainings, I conducting, like trying to educate people in this agile way of working. So some of them were sharing experience about retrospectives. So I really love to ask people about the best practices, and the bad, the worst practices. And some of them were sharing that they have formal retrospectives, and each team member is obliged to join the retrospective. And their Scrum Master, or maybe it's project manager, so they have like mixed roles. The person who is leading the team, they say that it's mandatory. If you're not going to join the retrospective, you will be punished of some sort. So you are going to experience some consequences of that. That was interesting, so that's not aligned with the values and what we need to do during retrospective meeting. So we have to build trust, or at least we need to try to do it, and we need to create this sense of like psychological safety, that our team members can open up, share their concerns, maybe some ideas for improvements, etc., which is, forcing people to join retrospect. Also, I actually heard a lot of feedback that not all the technical people believe that retrospectives are useful. And why is that? So, because retrospective is conducted as you said, so it have to be conducted like nicely, following the best practices. But if we have the retrospective as a meeting, when we sit together and talk for 1 hour and then nothing happened, so we simply talked about problems, that's it. We didn't ended up with the list of action items for the next period of time. We discuss the problems and then we go back to our work, and then the same problem occurs and nobody's doing anything with that. So that's why actually for some people, retrospective simply doesn't make sense. So why to join? Why should I waste 1 hour or 2 hours of my time joining this meeting? So it's useless for me.
Yeah, I can sense that. So imagine a situation, a certified coach who's trained, say, in the ICF framework or in the EMCC framework, Association of Coaching Framework. They see a job opening of an agile coach or a scrum master, and they are thinking whether or not to apply. Like, are they qualified to apply? What skills are they missing? What skills do they have? What advantages they might have, right? Or maybe what do they need to catch up on? So what is your take about maybe the gap, between a certified coach having a broader specialization, like a generalist, and specifically agile coach, apart from awareness of the agile values, agile manifestos, Scrum Master Guide, etc.?
Well, so let me clarify here a little bit. So we are talking about agile coaches, and agile coaches usually work on a higher level in organizations. So what?
Oh, tell us more. What's the difference between a Scrum Master and an agile coach?
Exactly. So I realized that we talked about like Scrum Masters and Agile coaches as some sort of mixture. Yeah. So
interchangeably, a little bit.
But the Agile coaches, they're, let's say, supporting the transition of organization to Agile, like on the organizational level. So they're usually act as, as a internal consultant and internal coach. Yeah. So if you hold the certification or credential from ICF or any other coaching organization, so you are aware of the best practices on how people should interact, what are the communication, collaboration skills, etc. But what you may be lacking is the understanding of the system. Yeah, so I would highly recommend to develop the skills. I don't know if it may consider as a hard skills, but to learn about the business. So how business is functioning. Yeah, what are the processes? What's important? What's not? What operations maybe there. Yeah, so you have to dig deeper into the system, organizational system. So we have a specific topics on that, and there are a lot of books here. So I would highly recommend to educate yourself, maybe taking the course about the high level business functioning. So what's the business, what's important, what are the strategy, how goals are set, and then combining this knowledge and these skills with your coaching skills and awareness about agile values and principles. So then you may be a good fit for position of agile coach.
What about Scrum Master?
And about Scrum Master, so to become a Scrum Master, it's really easy. I'm so inspired how the official organization of Scrum, scrum.org, how they made it quite simple. So you have to upload the Scrum guide from the website, go through the Scrum guide, and then you can apply for the exam. That would be it. And then you will get the certification. So you may apply to it's not to the entry level Scrum Master position. Yeah. So somebody who start a career, and there may be enough jobs on the market for people who want to start a career in that direction. So whenever you will be searching for it, look to the requirements. If there is a requirement for somebody to have 1, 2, 3 years of experience, that would be enough, and you may want to apply. Yeah.
Okay, so what about the expectations from the results that a Scrum Master or Agile Coach delivers? Like, how does an organization and who in the organization defines the outcomes or successful outcomes of their work? And what are those usually? Because we often talk, with coaches, like literally earlier today, I joined a webinar from the Held Business School hosted by Eric Dehan, who talked about research around how do we measure results in executive coaching. And it's very well researched, right? And I guess every coach thinks, how do I measure the impact of my work? Am I doing a good job? What does my client think? What is a relevant expectation, and what is maybe it's completely irrelevant expectation, right? Maybe it's outside of my control. I'm not supposed to deliver this through Agile coaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really great question, and there is unfortunately no simple answer to that. And I would say that
we are ready for a complex answer.
Yeah, so actually it depends. From the perspective of IC Agile, this International Consortium of Agile, the success of Agile Coach is need to be measured by, effectiveness of interaction. That's one, how you can measure
it. It doesn't sound particularly measurable in this, in this form.
Exactly, exactly. And that's why a lot of organizations, they come up with a set of KPIs for coaches specifically. So in my previous company, when I was actually holding the position of program manager and agile coach, what set of metrics I had, set of KPIs, it was the effectiveness of business processes. So on a broader level, what does it mean? It means that we have specific targets for each business process, and my actually requirements for my position and expectations for me as a coach was to actually improve the effectiveness of the process. Let's say one of the process was, it's quite common since we're talking about IT, a delivery. Yeah, so the delivery of the product, that's good, but how you can influence the process of delivery? Yeah, so you have a team, in team you have like a lot of different people with different technical backgrounds. So as a spot for like applying your efforts, maybe to make sure that they have a chance to collaborate, that you have this set of maybe meetings, like one-on-ones or maybe team meetings, when you can discuss openly the issues, problems, and struggles, and it will affect the effectiveness of the delivery at the end of the day. So when you can improve the time to resolve the bottlenecks, or I don't know, if you invest time into risk management, and when something materialized, your team members know what to do. So you're not wasting time trying to figure it out or deal with the consequences of that. So that's not that simple, and it really depends on the company. Yeah, and I would highly recommend to you, each and every agile coach, whenever you join the organization, so please explore the strategic goals of the company. So in which direction the company is heading, what's important for them. Then explore the set of KPIs for usually you are going to work maybe with some C-level directors as a consultant to them, or maybe with delivery leads. So it depends on the position, on the let's say level of that position in the organization. So explore the KPIs set for that level and try to find the opportunities for improvement, and then suggest the KPIs yourself. So be proactive. That would help you, because you may end up with, I don't know, KPIs that simply doesn't make sense. So you cannot, I don't know, what you cannot do, you cannot affect the quality of the final product, for example. Or since you are not technical experts, so you cannot do it, so what you can do, what tools do you have? It's usually on the the communication flows in the team, or maybe some workflows, if you have enough expertise to analyze that workflows.
Yeah, I really like that you mentioned proactive, because outside of skills, outside of knowledge, there also is this personality moment, right? And as a coach educator, I always say that a coaching mindset comes first. And everything that a coach does, verbally or non-verbally, it's kind of a realization and implementation of the mindset that they're having, right? And if they are courageous, if they are comfortable with not knowing, if they can manage their own emotions, then they can actually project this, right? And they have a greater capacity to hold more complex situations. So now you mentioned proactive is one of the characteristics or traits. What other mindset features or personality traits would be important for an agile coach, you think?
Yeah, I would say the learning mindset. Well, yeah, I had a personal struggle with that. When you are expert in the domain, you believe that I know everything. Yeah, and it's sometimes so hard to put on this student hat. So I had a really extensive background in data analysis, so I know a lot about that. When I decided to to go on to educate myself as a coach. And I joined the first lecture of the provider, and it was like she mentioned, so please put on the student hat. It's don't think that
Beginner mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, well, I read a lot of books on agile coaching specifically, and I well aware of the team dynamics and best practices for communication collaboration. So why should I wear this beginner's hat? I know a lot of things, but it was really funny. But yeah, at the first group activity, I struggled a lot, and the task was really simple: to ask open-ended questions to our team members and wait for their answers. So we tried to apply this simple thing from coaching. And I was like, open-ended questions? Yeah, I didn't know that. I know the answer, so why should I, formulate my questions in a specific way? So yeah, I struggled with that a bit, but then actually I realized that resistance won't help me in that journey. So yeah, I tried to figure it out and to switch to the learning mindset. And I would say that if you will be, if you want to develop yourself in the agile coach direction, and whenever you have the business background from business or from IT or from some industry, you might want to become agile coach in some other organizations or different domains and different industries, and you are not supposed to be an expert in everything. Yeah, so your main tool is your questions and the specific mindset. So you actually, if you manage to put on this student hat or beginners mindset, yeah, so you may join the organization asking questions to subject matter experts, and then figuring out what's the points where you can apply something or change something without damaging the whole system. So the productivity, learning mindset, and also what I really like, and the concept highly associated with agile and with the coaching separately, it's the growth mindset. Yeah, that's great concept from Carl Dweck. It's quite useful. So whenever you're focusing on the resolution of the problem or ways to be better, yeah, and trying to apply the growth mindset, it would help you to become the great agile coach at the end of the day.
So what value did ICF accredited training add to your skills, as an agile coach, to your work? What was the need to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that I definitely understood people and people behavior better, yeah, from that perspective. And I also developed that coaching mindset. So I want to know people better, their motivating factors, what they're driven by, what are the some maybe reasons behind their behavior, and simply it's not simple, but to invest time into the conversations, trying to really listen. Yeah, so all these skills of a coach, we have a lot of competences. Yeah, in ICF, this. I remember the time when I saw the list of competences for the first time. I was shocked. I was like, that's a lot. So how I can develop it? I don't know. I cannot. But at the end of the training, so it was like, I can't remember how much hours my training was, but we managed to develop it, to apply it. So for me personally, to focus on people, it helped me focus on people, making sure that the first value from Agile Manifesto is there, like individuals and interactions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Who sets the goals for agile coaching in organizations? Because there is a strategic direction of the company. There are high-level KPIs. At the same time, you mentioned that an agile coach acts as an internal consultant, so they are expected to be an expert in the agile methodology or philosophy to apply it, right? So does the organization rely on the agile coach to come up with some specific measurable goals around organizational agile transformation, or does the leadership team partner with the agile coach to co-create those specific measurable goals around agile transformation? How does that work?
Well, so sometimes you may experience this situation when organization had some strategic reports or recommendations from big four consultant, it's not agencies, but firms, and trying to follow the recommendations on how to run their business better. So whenever you join the organization, you may have some sort of a draft for you. Yeah, so what KPIs, what goals may be there. So some recommendations from external consultants. And I would highly recommend you to check these goals for relevance and make sure that these goals are actually actionable in the organizational context. Because sometimes you may have this goal to, to hit some sales targets, which, well, probably you cannot affect much. Yeah, so what can you do? You're not expected to do it, to work directly with the salespeople, for example. Maybe something else. So that's one story when organizations has the report from external consultancy. The second thing is when somebody from the C-level, from the top level, had this idea to transform processes, and they decided, okay, we need Agile Coach, and they hired you. In this case, you are going to operate somewhere in between strategy and operations department. Yeah, so you would be somewhere in the middle of them, and you would be in the position to ground the strategy and the goals organization want to pursue to the operational activity. And here you may have the freedom to decide what would be your goal, but it has to be discussed internally for sure. Even if you will be holding this position as an internal consultant, you're going to have supervisors. Yeah, you're not going to operate on your own. You would be well connected in the organization. So you're going to have somebody, maybe your manager or a supervisor, with whom you should discuss it. And for sure, even if your supervisor or manager is not somebody who is driving strategy or operation forward, I would recommend to talk with that people to make sure that you're aligned your efforts with what they want to be achieved with the organization.
Yeah, that's alignment is everything. So do you have any specific examples maybe to illustrate the results or impact of agile coaching? Some measurable outcomes, if possible, of course. Feel free to keep the confidentiality level as needed. So but it would be nice to have some examples how, what actually might be a contribution of agile coaching.
Well, so I want to bring here the example from my previous company. And I mentioned it already, this messy situation when overnight everybody all of a sudden get new job title. Yeah, and they don't know what to do. So what I did, actually, I was in the great position to take on the Agile Coaching Program Manager position. So I was leading this digital transformation. And I would say that on the organizational level, so what was the impact of that? With my efforts, I'm sharing, the results of 3 years period. So I was holding this position for 3 years. It's not 1 year or 1 month. So it usually agile coaching, whenever you start doing it, so you are going to have, like, let's say, long-term results. It's not immediate results usually, but long-term, it's delayed results. And what I had, my team and I have like a couple of Scrum Masters working with me. What we did, we improved the efficiency of some business processes, like the core processes. Unfortunately, I cannot uncover what processes are there.
Of course.
The core business processes, and the efficiency was actually, we speed up it up to like 50%. So twice. That's really huge, even on the 3 years horizon. And also one of the metrics I had is the formal education. Formal education is something different, but the, educating people who start holding new positions with the foundations of Agile. So I was conducting trainings, I developed courses, and I also assess, and that's really great thing to do if you can do as Agile coach, is the so-called competency metrics. So to map the competences, what people have, what they don't have, what needs to be developed, and prioritize them and focus on the biggest gap with the biggest effect. In my case, the biggest effect had the problem solving competency and the team collaboration. So at the end of the 3 years period, all the people who were affected by the transformation, they were educated. And we actually assessed the skills, and the assessment showed really high results. So we started with, let's call it like 10%, of skills were there, but at the end of that period, we had like more than 95%. Which
That's great. That's actually huge, isn't it? And I think we should really have, more specifics and data in coaching in general, just to support the impact of the work that we do with some numbers which are important to business. We are almost at the end of our time, and I guess the question that I normally ask as one of the closing questions is, what would be some of your tips or suggestions to coaches who are considering becoming or specializing in agile coaching?
Mm-hmm. Well, so what I would definitely recommend is to take a look on Agile Manifesto. So I was talking a lot about that. And please make sure that you interpret what's written down there in a correct way. So whenever who's watching this podcast or listening to it, if you have any questions, so feel free to write me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to support or maybe share some resources. I know that there are a lot of misconceptions about Agile and a lot of different interpretations of it. And also, I would say that another tip would be to follow your dreams. If you want to be an Agile coach, if it's interesting to you, if it's really if you are interested to drive organizations forward to make the impact on business, then go pursue your dreams. It's really great. That's interesting. And I share this concrete example from my previous company. And, at some points of time, I struggled a lot with what am I doing here? Why we don't absorb any improvements? It was so hard sometimes at some moments. But when you look back and see, oh, well, so indeed we are improving. We see that our processes are better, that our people feel happier. at the workplace that they can solve problems together, not pulling in different directions, but working as a team as well. That's great. If you're interested, in agile coaching, so just explore this area. And I would highly recommend you if it really inspires you to follow your dreams.
I really like this advice because it's so much aligned with the coaching mindset, right? I'm really happy you didn't say something like, "Oh, go and get a degree in IT," which would take another 5 years, right? But I think this might be a concern for many people. So focusing on opportunities, believing that the path appears once you start to follow it. I really love it. It's so much forward focused. Thank you so much, Kseniya, for sharing your expertise, your rich experience as an agile coach and a trainer for agile coaches and someone who's a real business practitioner. I think this is invaluable. For everyone who's watching or listening and would like to connect with Kseniya, we'll leave all of her contact details that she's willing to share, along with the resources that she has available for you guys in the episode description. Please follow the YouTube channel and look forward to seeing you in future episodes. Thanks so much again, Kseniya.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Luba.